Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the Indie Diarist podcast, showing the human stories behind indie game development. This is your loyal Indie Diarist and host, Anthony L. Wolf, writer, game designer, and now account director in content and publishing in social media. I got promoted just recently. Woohoo! But enough about me. This is episode 70 with Undergod Games. Now, Undergod Games is a friend of a friend, I would say, a friend of a long-standing member of the Indie Diarist community on Discord, and he reached out very kindly. He's working on KAILA, which is an action RPG, and honestly, it is very special. I'll just leave you to the episode shortly so that you can see for yourself what I mean. But lovely episode about a lot of creativity, surrealism, and a lot of tendencies that got into his game. I hope you guys enjoy. If you want to support the show, please go to patreon.com/theindiediarist, and I want to thank again my amazing patrons who are Zagini, Fishman Dev, and Peleg. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for your support every single month. You can follow me on social media, go to theindiediarist.com, or check out the links in the description of the episode if you want to support me or reach out in any way. But enough about that, let's get into Indie Diary number 70. Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the Indie Diarist podcast, showing the human stories behind indie game development. This is another regular Indie Diary, but the guest is far from regular. He's from Undergod Games, and actually, I believe you're a friend of a long-standing member of the Indie Diarist Discord community. So you reached out, and we just managed to schedule after a long time. But I'll hand it over to you now. Please say a few things about yourself, your name if you want, where you're based, and what you're working on right now.
Hello, I am a Subsurface Demon, but my real name is Tomas.
Okay.
I'm from Chile, South America. I've been working on a game for 5 years, a little bit more than 5 years now. It's an RPG, a dark fantasy RPG, and I have a very deep focus on art and visual storytelling and that sort of thing. I dedicated myself to visual arts for a while, so I mostly come from there. I think that covers an introduction, right?
Yeah, that covers quite a bit, and for the rest, we're just going to basically uncover as we go. So yeah, well, I did mention to you, Tomas, that I have a little icebreaker section now at the beginning of every episode, and that's something that I'm trialing from 2025. I find it fun. Let's see if I'll carry it into the next season of the show, but it is 60 seconds of quick fire questions, and just reply in the shortest way you can. A couple of words or something like that. No need to think about it too much. The first thing that comes to your brain is usually a pretty good answer. So, are you ready for this icebreaker section? Okay, let's go. So I'm going to do a couple of things here. I'm going to start the countdown on my phone while I ask the question, and at the same time, I'm going to start a little music in the background. So, first question is, what is the first game you ever fell in love with?
Baldur's Gate 2.
Baldur's Gate 2. Okay, great. And what's your guilty pleasure game? What is something you love but know isn't perfect, if you have one?
Mass Effect 2.
Okay, great. Yeah, well, that works, I guess. Okay. Right, so about KAILA, pitch your game in one sentence.
Pathologic meets Oregon Trail.
Okay, no, great. Love that. If you could be a game character for a day, who would you be?
The nameless one from Planescape Torment.
Okay. And what do you think is the most underrated game that everyone needs to play?
Witcher 1. The first one.
Witcher 1. Oh, I agree with that. Yeah, okay, we can discuss after. If you could only play one genre for the rest of your life, what would it be?
RPG.
Okay, yeah, well, that makes sense, I suppose. And lastly, pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay, well, I mean, I haven't found one person who said no. And as an Italian, I'm very offended. No, I'm joking. Everyone can put whatever they want on their pizza. Maybe not sweet corn. No, actually, I've once eaten a pizza with ricotta inside the crust and sweet corn. It wasn't too bad, so I'm open to anything. But yeah, no, good stuff. And actually, 59 seconds here showing on camera, although people at home won't be able to see it. 59 seconds. We were able to cover all of the questions, basically. First time it happens. Usually, there are always a couple that get dropped off. So yeah, well done.
Off to a good start.
Yeah, off to a very good start. Yes. Right. Well, I liked what you said about The Witcher 1 being an underrated game. I think The Witcher 1 is very much a product of its times in the sense that it was developed for PC natively, and they did a control scheme that only really worked on PC. But it's all built around that, all the interface, it's a very much a vintage old school RPG, and personally I loved it. I really liked it, but a lot of people don't like it because it's too clunky and such. I couldn't stop playing it. It was really good. Yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah, I love the combat system. I think it was really nice. You know, it was different from anything I played, and I don't think there's one like it after that.
Yeah.
The rhythms thing with the sword, it's very cool.
Yeah, no, totally agree. I think it's very unique in its own way, and also the story works. It's got a lot of very nice references. There's references to Dagon at some point, and in Lovecraft lore. So that's something that I appreciated very much. But now that we've done the icebreaker section, we can relax. We can slow down a little bit. We can start diving into your story, and we can start talking about Kayla as well, or Kaila. I'm not sure how you were supposed to pronounce. Probably Kaila. Yeah, there you go. You're nodding, so yeah, that's a pretty good telltale sign for me. So yeah, let's start with the origins. Now, these indie diaries, to me, I see them a little bit as memoirs, and so as a memoir, I would like to start from the beginning. So, what would you say is the first, earliest, or maybe fondest memory that has to do with video games that you got?
Yeah, I remember going to where my dad used to work. It had a lot of PCs there. It was they taught courses of Office and that kind of stuff. And one of the PCs had StarCraft installed on it, and I sat down there and I played the tutorial, and I was really invested. I was a little kid. I was like 5 years old or something like that. So yeah, I did the tutorial, and I wanted more, and then I got the game and I played it a lot. It was nice. It was really
nice
really
memory. Good. One of my first memories is playing Spyro the Dragon with my dad, and he liked it so much that not I don't know if that could be considered liking it. I suppose he got into it a lot. And the same night, the first flying level, if you ever played Spyro, where you're just flying through hoops and such, and it's very arcadey. You just have to shoot down planes and whatnot. So he dreamt that it was riding Spyro in one of those flying levels because he kept failing it over and over. This is a time attack thing, and you have to be very precise with your reflexes and controls, and it is a challenge. It is not easy. So yeah, he got into it so much, and he tried so much that he dreamt about it the same night, and then since then he said no more games for me. So well, that's always an interesting story I like to bring up. But yeah, well, I mean, I suppose this question kind of answers itself based on what you said so far. But do you think those early games that you were playing influenced the kind of stuff that you're making for players now?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, StarCraft, maybe. I as a kid, I liked a lot the mission where you control a party of units. You're in some kind of installation, and you don't have to build that mission. You just have to manage your troops.
Mm-hmm.
And well, later on, just a couple of years, I was a kid also. I played Baldur's Gate 2, and I like the idea of controlling a party and managing the characters, making them survive. So yeah, for sure, it had deep influence on what I
Mm-hmm.
am doing right now, actually.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. And I guess I can see it. I did try the demo of Kyla, although you said that it's a bit outdated, but I still found it interesting, and we'll get into that. There are some bits that I saw that I was like, that's actually cool. I think I know where it comes from. So yeah, but when did you realize that you wanted to make games? Because there's always that moment, isn't there, when someone moves from playing to actually wanting to do them. It was like that for me, although I don't do it like professionally. I do it as a hobby sometimes. But yeah, when was that for you?
The first time, well, when I was a kid, I don't know, I was like maybe 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I used to, and StarCraft comes again. I used to play a lot with the level editor and
Ah, yeah.
make some
Mm-hmm.
stories and a little campaign and stuff. Then I
Uh,
did that with the Warcraft 3 editor.
mm-hmm.
Then I did it with the Neverwinter Nights editor, and
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
kind of activity really made me see that I had a really good time with that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
if there was a thing I could do professionally, I thought I would love to make games. But then as a kid, sometimes you are told that some things are really hard to achieve. Like
Mm.
you probably won't end up doing that that sort of thing. So that dream kind of went a little bit down later when I was a teen. I wasn't thinking about that until some years later. Like I thought, you know what, I'm gonna try.
Yeah,
I'm
no, I think
gonna try.
and I can relate with that stuff because being a writer in my day job, I've heard that many times. I never made the connection, or maybe I did it for because I remember talking about it in one of my previous episodes with someone. But I too played around with the level editor, not of StarCraft, but with the leveling game editor of Little Big Planet a lot. And I spent so much time doing levels and little games there. And that maybe should have told me something that I was really enjoying all the. And actually, I was very weak on the art part because I just couldn't be bothered to go into the stickers and decorations, just decorate the entire levels. But in terms of level design, I think they were decent. Traps, logic, challenges, and such. And I think that reflects what I do now. I don't do art. I do the logic when I do games uh, and the story and writing the challenges and all of that. So yeah, I remember that I had a lot of dialogues too. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. It's an interesting realization that I had. Don't know if you had any experience playing with Little Big Planet.
No, but I at the time I looked into it and I thought it was a really cool thing. I would have loved to play with it. I didn't have a PS at the moment, so it was PS
Yeah,
only,
well,
right?
yeah, it was only on PS3, and it's such a shame that the series died because Media Molecule sold the rights to Sumo Digital for Little Big Planet 3, but they moved on to do other things like Dreams, and now, as far as I know, they're making another game. Very much looking forward to that. But yeah, you also mentioned that you started as an artist, or that you started in art. So what about that? What about that background? How did you get into it, and how did you transition to game development then?
Yeah, well, when I was a kid, I used to do a lot of creative stuff, and that includes drawing and that kind of. Yeah, I made some. I was a kid, so they were really bad, but I draw a lot of comics and stuff.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was one of my interests. And then when I finished school, like middle school,
Hmm.
when I was out of school, finally I wanted to make games, I had decided that I wanted to make games, but also, well, I was young, so I thought I could do everything, and
Hmm.
some members of my family wanted me to go to college, so I thought, well, I am young, I can do everything at the same time, and it's
Yeah,
gonna
sure.
work. So I went to art school. I went to, and I was there for like 4 years. I studied visual arts, and at first it was very different to what I had in mind. I didn't know much about uh, visual arts and that kind of thing. I just
Hmm.
used to do draw. So I did learn a lot of things I wasn't used to, but I couldn't do everything I wanted. In those 4 years,
Hmm.
I couldn't do much of game dev, so most of my time went to visual arts, and it was good learning anyway. So
Hmm.
I think I've been making the most of it. So when I finished college, I went on and, well, there was a period in between, but then I went on back to making games.
Well,
In the
that's
end, it was
interesting.
yeah.
That's interesting. It sounds like that making games is constantly, pulling you in. So yeah, it's great that you're there now. And I mean, how long have you developing Kyla for?
five 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
It includes learning.
Yeah, no, definitely. And about that, I do have a question about that specifically because, in these 5 years, you've probably had to overcome a lot of development challenges. What would you say is a big development challenge that you overcome?
Well, learning was a big challenge. The point at first, when you have this project,
Hmm.
you know where you have to get it, but you don't know how. That was, I think, the biggest challenge. Like, how what do I have to learn to be able to do this? How, and you make choices like, will I spend a month trying to learn this from these tutorial guides, or
Yeah.
maybe this one? So, and time is very limited, so you have
Yeah.
to make the right choices. So I think that was the most challenging thing.
Well, I suppose there's a learning there. Like the time is precious, so you have to learn what to prioritize first. And I suppose you learned a lot from that. There's also that thing called tutorial hell, which is where a lot of people get stuck, and I also got stuck in that. The thing that got me unstuck was doing a game jam, first of all. So actually doing a game or trying to do a game, but also doing a more structured course with assignments. Graded assignments that got me out of tutorial hell. But now let's get onto Kyla. I When I played the demo, the first thing that got me was the direction, not the art direction necessarily. That is stunning. The way the world is presented works really well, but the actual direction of the camera, the how you tell the story, it reminded me of surrealism somehow, or surrealism, like all those weird camera angles, maybe very close ups, and then some weird angles from the floor, and it's just so creative. So what inspired it? What inspired the game? What inspired this style? And what would you say had a big role in it so far?
Well, the camera angles were, at the time, like, a couple of years ago, I was watching a lot of old movies, and
Ah, yeah. Okay, I get that, right.
yeah, and paired with Better Call Saul, it has some wide angles that
Ah.
are really, yeah, they're really nice. Like,
Hmm.
sometimes it makes characters look tremendous when you have some a wide angle, and
Hmm.
I wanted to, yeah, I wanted to give. Yeah, I think surrealism is a good take. I wanted to give this feeling of a really odd place.
It is. It does come across as a very odd place, and I also like the three characters. Is it three or four?
For
It's four. It's four, I think.
yeah,
Yeah, I like the four character system. The fact that you switch between them, and all they all have different skills, but also they all feel very unique. And I think that's very difficult when you're working with a party of characters, and sometimes you get the feeling that they're all kind of flat and they all kind of sound the same, but they sound completely different from each other. They all have their own skills and their own tone of voice. So even in the sense, even in writing, Kaila is quite creative, and that's something I really appreciated a lot. But yeah, no, good that I caught on the surrealism aspect, because that was one of the first things I noticed. I was like, "Ooh, that's a weird camera angle. I like it. I kind of dig it." But yeah, good stuff. And I mean, of course, it's not out in the open yet. You've got the demo, which you said is a little bit outdated, but I suppose you've had chances to have people play it and whatnot. Do you remember like a memorable reaction that someone had to the game, or is it too soon for that?
No, I have one. It was a guy actually writing in the Steam discussions
Uh
part.
huh. Okay.
He left some feedback. Yeah, he acknowledged the game was well, it is now outdated. At the time, it was a bit clunky. It was rough on the
Mm-hmm.
edges, but he said that he loved the part of the writing, not exactly how the dialogue was written, but the characters' personalities, like the dynamic between them. He said that
Yeah.
yeah, he liked it a lot, so that made me really happy
I
because
think I think it works really well. I think it has a point, because even from the demo, it comes across that how the characters interact with each other. It's very nice. It does work. It creates some nice fun moments and funny moments and such. So I think you did a really good job there, and that's just from the demo. So I'm really looking forward to the final release. And speaking of that one, what would you say so far is like a mechanic or something about your game that you're particularly proud of?
oh well, no, it's now that you just said the surrealism thing, there
Uh
is
huh.
one thing that is very surrealistic that I
Okay.
haven't shown that yet, but I intend to. The characters actively have dreams that you can play on, and I'm trying to
Okay.
make those like
Yeah, very
not like
psychedelic, and yeah, okay, I get it.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
and more subjective. I think like real dreams with elements that don't make much sense, or
Uh-huh.
may more emotional sense.
Mm-hmm.
More than like tell something specific. I want to
Mm.
explore how the characters feel through the dreams, and that will be influenced by what they suffer in the game. If their morale is low, the dream may be different, that sort of
Nice.
thing.
Yeah.
So that
Really
has
cool.
really, yeah, that has me excited to explore. I don't think dreams are, yeah, I think that there's a lot to explore on dreams in games.
That's that's nice. Really interesting actually. I think it's a really cool mechanic, and it can really help you pull out that surrealism element, that kind of odd feeling of being in a strange place, just out of everywhere and whatnot. That is really cool. Okay, well, I mean, the time has gone so fast, and we're almost near the end of the episode already. We've whizzed through the questions. I know. But yeah, it is true that I've been trying to kind of condense them into 30 to 40 minutes. So sometimes we end up on the shorter end of the spectrum, but I still got some questions for you to wrap things up. So now, I mean, we've talked about your origin, we've talked about the present and development and such. Now, I think these are indie diaries, so I like to reflect a little bit as well. And this question is the core of the show. So I want to ask you, my dear friend, why are you a game developer? What is it that drives you forward?
That's a
Mm,
tricky question.
uh,
Yeah, there are many things, but I think the most important one is that I thoroughly enjoy it. I love sitting there and building the game. Not only like the specific little things, but the overall thing, like
mhm.
seeing the vision start coming to life is some of the most rewarding experiences that I've had like in my life, I think. So yeah, I think that's a big one. Um,
That's a really important thing, because not a lot of people can say that they can do the same thing over and over and over and over every day and still be happy at the end of the day. Sometimes you just end up being like you end up stuck in a rut, or maybe a little bit of dissatisfaction. It becomes a little bit less stimulating. But I've spoken to so many game devs that just say it's the only thing I can possibly do. Is the only thing that I can that I feel like doing all the time, and that I think is pushing me forward constantly. So that's great. It's great to hear that you're part of that crowd. And what would you say has been the toughest part of your journey so far as a game developer specifically?
well, the learning part, I think
Yeah,
it was
right.
very very tough mentally. I think more than anything else. You know, the decision part is key. You can get stuck and not make a decision at all because you are scared of losing the precious time. So
Yeah.
that's yeah, that was really mentally challenging for me to go through. You know,
Hmm.
I had limited time, especially at first, so I had to make the most of it, and it was really stressful. But yeah,
Mm.
I'm glad I got through that. I'm glad it's over.
Um, but bringing it back to learning, I think that's one thing that I always say to pretty much everyone who's close to me. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's the main thing, because they are always learning opportunities. It is true we are all limited on time and such, but if you make a mistake, then you'll learn from it, and it's not always wasted time. Sometimes it is wasted time because you haven't learned absolutely anything, and you still have to cut a huge bunch of something that you've done. But most of the times, maybe you'll surprise yourself with the things that you learn and that you can then apply. It's all experience. So if you are sometimes scared to take a risk, maybe this thought will help you push forward. But yeah, that
Yeah,
is the hope.
still, I think the what was maybe more stressful was not knowing if I was going to be able to reach the point more than anything else. Like especially with there are some obscure parts of it,
Hmm.
like I don't know, learning to rig a character properly or something. When
Yeah.
you're like desperately trying to get a good tutorial on that
Yeah, and you're
was
working with 3D, which I mean is a challenge in itself. I've only worked with 2D so far because 3D scares me. So so yeah, I get where you're coming from.
but yeah, in the end, it's true that you are always learning, and that's good. And yeah, making mistakes is it's part of it, and it's what in the end ends up making you better. I think you have to make those mistakes.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well then, as I mentioned and I said a few times, these indie diaries are kind of like memoirs. So if this were your final diary entry, if this were your journal and you had to write a note for the rest of the world, what's one message you would leave for other developers like you? You can take all the time you want to answer this one. I know it's a tough one, but I do ask it every time.
Yeah, I would say I would tell people to enjoy it. Really, I see a lot of devs struggling and thinking they have to do certain thing or they have to compromise their enjoyment, and I think that's one thing you shouldn't compromise on. I think
Totally.
you
Hmm.
should always do something that you feel good about, or
Hmm.
else you won't be doing your best. And yeah, if we have like one shot at this, I think we have to make it count.
Yeah, and also, I mean, most solo developers who are working on a game and they've been working on a game for the past, I don't know how many years, they do it on the side with already a day job. If you turn your passion into something that is intolerable for you, where does that leave you? So I think you have a point there, but that a lot of, especially because I know a lot of people do this on the side, and it can become difficult. But if you lose the enjoyment, then maybe there's something wrong in your project. Maybe there's something wrong in your processes. Maybe you're just not approaching it the right way. Who knows? But it's always worth taking a step back and trying to see, okay, do I really enjoy what I'm doing? And if not, how can I fix it? Because ultimately, yes, you're building a product, but you're also building something that you want to be proud of. Um, so yeah, I think that's really important what you said there. Okay, well, we're at the 30-minute mark, just precisely there. And I think it's been a lovely, quicker, short episode, but still full of meaning. I really loved everything that we talked about. So, Tomas, I think it's time for some parting words. Where can other people find you? And if they do, what is the best way to support you?
X, yeah, I think X is my most used platform. They can look for undergod_games. It's the handle, and following me is great support. Even silent followers, I notice when they like stuff, and I like them being there.
Yeah, the lurkers, yeah. They have value, yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes I get messages from people, and I don't know where they come from, but they tell me
nice.
encouraging words, and yeah, that's really good. You know, it really
nice,
helps motivating and keep it going. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, and of course, you guys, you can also support by wishlisting Kaila. That will come up at some point. Do you have like a timeline? Do you know when you would like to release the game?
Hopefully by next year. Hopefully
by next year. Yeah, great. Okay.
I think we're getting there.
I think 6 years is good. I wrote a novel for 6 years and it's still not out. So yeah, I think I like to stick by that timeline. Okay, perfect. And of course, I will put all of these links in the description of the episode, including the link to Wishlist Kaila, so you guys can check out what Tomas is doing. And you can find him online. You can just support him in any way you want, but especially checking out his game. If you want to check out the demo, please feel free. He did mention to me that it is a little bit outdated. I suppose he will be pushing out another demo at some point that is a bit more...
Yeah, I should.
I should.
Totally should.
Right, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Tomas. It's been a pleasure talking to you and wishing you all the best with Kaila and everything you do next. Let's stay in touch. And yes, can't wait for Kaila to come out.
For sure. Thank you. It's been great. I love talking about this stuff, and you've been a great host. So
thanks
for the opportunity. And yeah, it would be great to keep on talking.
And that's it. That's a wrap on another episode of the Indie Diaries podcast. Indie Diary number 70 for Tomas, or Subsurface Demon, also founder of Undergod Games. I wish you all the best for Kaila. Really. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. You've been an amazing guest. I loved speaking to you about surrealism and all of those things, and also the creativity and just where everything came from. It's always so fascinating to speak to. Now, listeners, as usual, if you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe to the show, leave a rating, 5 stars, that always helps. You can also check out the links in the description of the episode, and in the description of the show more in general, to find, Discord channel, my Blue Sky, my threads, and all of the links where you can actually reach out to me. I always like to have a chat with people who enjoy the show. You can also join the Discord community, where we're trying to be a little bit more active these days. The YouTube channel, everything is over there, including, of course, links to support Tomas himself. Other than that, if you are an indie game developer yourself, please get in touch, because I would love to tell your story to the world and share your story with the world. And also, I've got some more slots open for the second half of the year, so there might be a chance to feature you, not so much in the far future. But yeah, until then, I'll speak to you in the next Indie Diary.